Who's your emergency contact? Who would you notify in the case of death? Welcome to the USP, where I've spent 2+ decades of my life. In the USP, I'm sure by now you're starting to get an idea of all the craziness that goes on in there. But getting an idea of it, things that you can imagine and dream of that might happen in there really doesn't prepare you to the reality of the situation unless you lived it. You've seen movies, they have series on HBO about some crazy shit that goes on and stuff. But I've been on the yard where these crazy shits happen. And even me, trying to prepare myself when I was first in the county fighting my case to go to prison because of all the stories that I've heard. I've heard so many crazy shit that I thought I was prepared for it psychologically. When I get to prison and actually seeing these things for myself, it's unexplainable. I can't really express to you adequately on how it is. I've seen dudes getting rolled out of stretchers with a screwdriver still stuck in their head. I've seen people's throat get slit. I've seen box cutter hit people's face and half their face fall off. I myself been in riots where I'm fighting 4 or 5 different individuals with knives. It's chaos. You are really in a war zone. And not just a war zone, but a horror story. When I was in Lompoc, I read a case. I read 2 cases. Because there was lawsuits on these cases. The families of the victims that died were filing a lawsuit against the federal government. And the lawsuit has been going on 5-6 years, and I'm probably sure it's still going on because when you sue the federal government, it's hard to win. Even everything is black and white and all the laws and justification and whatnot is on your side, they're slow to settle the case. They're slow to take it to court. One of the cases was this individual that died in Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a transit center. When you're leaving the state to go to the feds, or when you're moving from one prison to another prison, you go through Oklahoma. I think there's another one in El Reno, but I've only been through the one in Oklahoma. This particular incident that I'm just going to touch on real quick, there was an individual that the guard said he hung himself. Now, anybody that's ever been in Oklahoma, in the SHU in Oklahoma, the cells are really high. You can get on top of the second bunk, jump, and you still won't touch the ceiling. That's how high it is. It's a small cell, but the ceiling is really high. Well, this person that died, the COs in Oklahoma said that he hung himself. But when the forensic came, they found blood splatter on the ceiling. Like I tell you, you can get on the top bunk, jump. I don't care if you're 6 feet tall and you can't touch the ceiling. If you hung yourself, there shouldn't be any blood anywhere. So how the hell did a blood splatter get on top of the ceiling? Just imagine what force somebody had to be striking this individual for the blood to splatter and touch the ceiling. Now, I don't remember the individual's name in that particular case, so I'm not here to tell you about that story. I'm just giving you an idea of shit that happens in there. In the Oklahoma, in the SHU, it's designed, all the cells are designed at an angle, the hallways, So you can never really look directly into another cell. So when they come and get you in those cells, other inmates sitting in the cell, in the other cells, won't be able to see it or witness it. But this story right here is about my homeboy Rudy Sablan. I met Rudy just a few years ago when I was in Florence, Colorado. He was coming out of ADX, and they had a step-down unit that was on the yard, the USP yard. The ADX is a different complex. It's on the same complex, but it's a different prison in itself. And I've never been to ADX. I've been recommended to ADX twice, but the program never accepted me because ADX are designed for different individuals. You know, the ADX houses people that are extra violent, influential, gang leaders, notorious criminals. You get the idea. I'm neither one of them. So I've never, even though I've gotten myself in some incident where the DHO, which is the disciplinary hearing officer, recommended that I go to ADX, where my judge tried to commit me to ADX, but I didn't quite fit the criteria to be housed in the ADX, because ADX is a minimum of 7-year program. If you get sent to ADX, it takes you a minimum of 7 years for you to even work your way back out into population. And after that 7-year period, they put you in another program, which is a 3-year program, a step-down program, where you come out and have classes and whatnot to try to get you back into population. And while we were in Florence, you know, those guys that are coming out of ADX in the step-down program are working their way down. But even in that program, every time they open the door, somebody got killed. You know, there was an incident where a Latin king killed an AB. There was another incident where a DC killed a Texas MA, and so on and so on and so on. It's just because these people that get put in ADX, they don't have anything to look forward to. Most of them have life sentences, and most of them have the characteristic of almost psychopath already. So it's just an environment of such craziness that you can never really outgrow it, because the environment don't let you to outgrow it. Because once you step back until you're not with it no more, and you try to change your life, there's always some other miserable motherfuckers that's gonna come and try you and take advantage of you or whatnot. So the only choice you have is to go hard and continue to go hard until you're dead. So I can't really say Rudy Sablan is my friend. I mean, he's a homie, he's Guamanian. So he falls under the Asian Islander card because I never really got to know the individual. I only met him in Florence when he was in the step-down program. And every Wednesday, they get to go out to go get commissary. And when we're on the yard, we can see him walking through the gate, the fence, the sidewalk, but it's, got fence on both sides. And I was able to have a few conversations with him through the fence. But in the late 90s, mid-90s, late 90s, him and his cousin was in the SHU in Florence, USP. And imagine this cell. It's so small. It's the size of your bathroom. You already have, these cells are only designed for one individual. When it was first opened up, they only had one bunk in there. But through the course of the time, through overpopulation, they went and put another bunk in there and made it a 2-man cell. But at a certain time, when there's such shit going on the yard and they don't have no place to house these individuals, they start trying to pack the SHU. In Victorville, I had homies that were sitting in the cell with 3-4 motherfuckers in a cell of the size of a freaking bathroom, packed together like sardines. So Rudy and his cousin was in the shoe. And while he was in the shoe, they put another inmate in there with them, a Mexican dude. So when they put this inmate in there with them, they get a kite from down the hallway telling Rudy and them that, hey, that guy they just put in your cell is a rat. Now, I don't know how other penitentiaries system deal with these cowards and these busters, but in the federal system, if you're a rat, you're good as dead. You're gonna get chopped up. You know, if you don't die, it's because they missed your vital organs. So they put this Mexican dude in a cell with them, and they sent a kite to them, letting them know that he was a rat. So they plotted whatever they plotted. They made some wine, and they drank. And when they, I don't know the thought process that was going on in the individual's head, but they end up butchering this dude. I don't know how many times they stabbed him. There's nowhere to go. You're stuck in the cell of the size of a bathroom, and you got two people stabbing you. You can't win. There's nowhere to run. There's nowhere to scream, because like if you screaming for your life or whatnot, the COs aren't going to come in and pop the door to come and rescue you. They're going to run through the door, look in there and see, oh shit. And they're going to panic, and they're going to hit all they're going to do is hit the emergency button, the deuces, notifying the rest of the prison that there's an emergency situation at this particular place. And all them's going to run over there, and they're going to go grab their can of mace, go grab their bean bags, because they are not popping that door if you are not restrained, because they are terrified of you. A lot of people have lost their lives because these cowards won't come in and save them. Well, Rudy and his cousin ended up butchering this dude. They killed him. But that's not even the crazy part. After they killed him, they gutted him. They opened him up and exposed his body and pulled out his intestines and his innards and smeared the wall with all his blood and guts. They took his intestine and strung it across the cell. And, I've heard the story, not from Rudy himself, but from individuals that was in the shoe at the time, and even from staff members. And when they finally, came to the cell and seen that there was a dead body, his gut open, all his inner exposed, and all the blood on the wall, and the intestines and other things strung across the wall like strings. They said Rudy and his cousin was just sitting there laughing, like the shit was funny. And I don't know if they were already crazy when they were kids, before they came to the system. But I can understand that if you weren't crazy before you came to prison, prison makes you crazy. The stuff that you're forced to do, certain situation, does something to you psychologically. When you're forced to stab someone, when you're forced to kill someone. And when I mean force, it's not like somebody holding a gun to your head and telling you got to do this or they're going to blow your brains away. But you're forced in a way because there's certain things that's expected of you because of the environment that you live in. And if you don't conform, if you don't do these things that are expected of you, then you're going to be a victim. Because if they sat in that cell with this fucking rat in there There's no secrets in the penitentiary. Everybody in the shoe already knows that this dude's a fucking rat and they got put in a cell with these two individuals. And if they stayed in that cell with that fucking rat and didn't do nothing to them, everybody's gonna say, oh man, them dude was sitting in that cell with a rat and they knew he was a rat. So now, even though you yourself is not a rat, they're gonna take it a mark against you because you're sitting and living with a rat. So when you come out, whatever that rat's got coming, they're gonna get you because you didn't do your part. You can't sit in a cell with a child molester. You can't sit in a cell with a rapist. You can't sit in a cell with a rat. If you do, when you come out the shoe and your homies know that you was in a cell with a rat, with a sex offender, and you didn't bust his fucking head, they're gonna chop you up. So all these things that we're forced to do is not because we relish in the violence or in the chaos. It's more of, it's to ensure our survival. Because that's the environment that we were in. Hollywood can't make no shit up like this. They can put some fancy special effects onto it. But just imagine sitting in a cell or even seeing somebody stabbing someone to death, gutting them up and pulling out their innards and fucking stringing it all across the freaking room. That's what this program is about, man. It's not, you know, I had a comment or whatever, somebody saying, oh, it's just an excuse to glorify the violence. Nah, homie. It's to let you know that it's the environment that we live in. And if your ass out there doing whatever you're doing, you might not be able to fully comprehend what you're signing up for. Because when you go into the penitentiary, there's no such thing, oh, I'm just gonna do my thing. Especially if you're Mexican or white. You're gonna fall under some type of category, some type of organization. And no one gets a free pass. Everybody gets put on the line. Everybody gets a number. And when your number comes up, they don't give a fuck if you got 3 days to the house or 100 years. When your number is called, you got to go put in that work. And if you don't go put in that work, then you become that work. And that's just, I don't, some things I don't agree with, some things I don't understand or makes any sense to me. But this is the environment you're in. And to ensure your survival, especially if you got a lot of time, when your number is called, you got to go put in that work. Or outside of that, if you don't, you're never going to be able to walk no line anymore unless you want to spend the rest of your fucking bid in the shoe, locked 24 hours a day so you can be protected by other inmates. Then so it is. But that in itself is a punishment. Sitting in a freaking bathroom day in, day out, year after year. That itself is going to make you crazy. Yeah. For those that don't know what they're signing up for, man, I'm not glorifying violence, man. I'm just letting you know that this ain't what you want. You don't want to be in there for 2 decades, a year, 5 years, because no matter how much time you get, there's no guarantee that you're going to make it home. Because even if you're a respectable dude and you mind your own business, you can only dictate what you do. You don't know what the people around you is thinking. And they might take the way you look at them, or the way you respond to someone, or the way you dress, or the way you look offensive. Or they just might wake up one day and just had a fucking bad day and decide, hey, you're going to be that victim. And then the situation is going to be either they kill you and you defend yourself, you kill them. So the only two outcomes is either you're dead or you catch more time. Once you're in that box with that gun tower around you, there ain't no guarantee you're going to make it back home, man. Welcome to the USP. Thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, share, and I'm so grateful for all of your support. See you guys next time.